Imagine a moment when the world doesn't just slow down but completely collapses into silence, where news broadcasts abruptly stop, emergency signals fade, and the familiar structure of daily life disappears, forcing people into a state of confusion and panic as they flood empty streets in search of food, water, and weapons, passing by highways lined with abandoned cars, doors open, windows shattered, interiors exposed, yet mentally filtering them out as useless debris because they're conditioned to see vehicles only as transportation, not as resources, which becomes the critical mistake that separates those who survive from those who don't, because each of those cars is in fact a concentrated package of engineered materials, metals, polymers, fabrics, energy systems designed to withstand stress, weight, and time, and therefore perfectly suited for repurposing in extreme conditions, a truth that was realized during the 1992 siege of Sarajevo, when a local mechanic named Dragan observed the same chaos unfolding around him but made a different cognitive leap by shifting his perspective from consumption to utilization, choosing not to compete for dwindling supplies, but instead harvesting value from abandoned vehicles, systematically dismantling them for parts, materials, and tools, which allowed him to maintain independence, reduce risk, and ultimately survive in an environment where traditional resources had vanished, proving that survival is not dictated by what is available, but by the ability to reinterpret the environment and recognize hidden utility in plain sight. Inside every car, often overlooked and taken for granted, are multiple seat belts constructed from tightly woven polyester webbing engineered to handle extreme loads of approximately 6,000 pounds or more, a specification intended to restrain the human body during high-speed collisions, but which inadvertently creates one of the strongest flexible materials readily accessible in a survival scenario. And while most people search for specialized gear like paracord, unaware that these belts exceed its strength by a significant margin, the true advantage lies not only in their durability, but also in their flat, wide structure that distributes pressure evenly, preventing injury when used for carrying or securing loads. And because each vehicle typically contains 3 to 5 of these belts, a single car becomes a multi-source supply of high-performance strapping that can be repurposed through simple cutting and extraction into critical tools such as emergency tourniquets capable of stopping severe bleeding, improvised towing lines for moving heavy objects or vehicles, structural bindings for building shelters that must withstand wind and tension, and ergonomic carrying straps that allow to transport supplies over long distances without damaging muscles or skin, effectively transforming a passive safety feature into an active survival asset through a simple shift in perception and application. Embedded within the headrests of most car seats are 2 parallel rods made of hardened chrome-plated steel measuring roughly 20 to 30 centimeters in length, components originally designed to provide structural support and safety during impacts, but which can be quickly accessed by pulling the headrest free from its sockets, revealing a pair of durable metal shafts that possess both strength and versatility. And when combined with an understanding of basic tool-making principles, these rods can be further enhanced by sharpening their ends against rough surfaces like concrete or stone, converting them into functional implements that serve multiple survival purposes, including acting as a punch-or-awl for breaking glass or piercing materials without damaging the tool itself, forming hooks that can retrieve objects from difficult-to-reach places or assist in trapping small animals, serving as spear tips when attached to longer shafts for hunting or defense, and functioning as ground stakes that can anchor shelters securely in unstable terrain, demonstrating how a hidden structural component, once removed and modified, can transition into a multi-role tool set, essential for both mobility and protection in unpredictable environments. Car mirrors, often dismissed as fragile and limited in purpose, actually represent compact optical systems capable of performing 3 critical survival functions: fire creation, signaling, and reconnaissance because their reflective surfaces are designed to accurately redirect light, and when positioned correctly under direct sunlight, they can concentrate and focus solar energy onto a single, generating enough heat to ignite dry tinder and start a fire without matches or lighters, a capability that becomes invaluable in wet or resource-scarce conditions, while the same reflective property allows them to act as long-distance signaling devices by flashing sunlight toward distant observers, aircraft, or potential rescuers across miles of open terrain, significantly increasing visibility and chances of detection. And beyond these uses, mirrors can also be employed as improvised periscopes by angling them to observe areas outside the user's direct line of sight, such as around corners or over obstacles, reducing exposure to threats in conflict zones or dangerous environments, thereby transforming a simple reflective object into a multifunctional survival instrument through an understanding of light manipulation and situational awareness. The car battery, typically ignored due to its weight and assumed depletion, remains one of the most valuable energy sources in an abandoned vehicle, as even a partially discharged 12-volt battery with a capacity of 40 to 60 amp hours retains enough residual power to perform multiple critical functions, and while its mass of 30 to 40 pounds discourages most individuals from attempting to move or utilize it, those who understand its potential can exploit its stored inertia by creating intentional short circuits using conductive materials like aluminum foil or steel wool to produce instant sparks capable of igniting fire under almost any weather condition, including rain or wind, while also using the battery as a stable power supply for low consumption devices such as LED lights that can operate for extended periods, communication equipment like radios that maintain contact and situational awareness, and even improvised electrical deterrent systems that can protect a perimeter, illustrating how the perceived inconvenience of weight becomes irrelevant when balanced against the strategic advantage of reliable portable energy in a survival context. The cabin air filter, designed to protect passengers from dust, pollutants, and airborne particles, is composed of layered filtration materials, often enhanced with activated carbon, which grants it the ability to trap contaminants and improve air quality. But in a survival situation, this same structure can be repurposed for water filtration by passing contaminated water through its layers to remove visible debris, sediment, and some impurities, thereby improving clarity and taste, which plays a crucial psychological role in encouraging hydration when clean water sources are scarce. And although it does not fully purify water to a microbiologically safe level, it significantly reduces the burden on subsequent purification methods such as boiling or chemical treatment, making them more effective and efficient, and highlighting how a component intended for comfort can be reinterpreted as a tool for sustaining life by addressing both physical and mental barriers to water consumption. Running throughout every vehicle is an extensive network of copper wiring that can total anywhere from hundreds to over 1,000 meters, depending on the model, forming a hidden reserve of flexible, durable material that resists corrosion and does not degrade like organic fibers. And in a crisis environment where traditional resources are limited, this abundance becomes strategically valuable not only for practical applications, but also as a tradable commodity due to copper's recognized worth. And when extracted and repurposed, these wires can be used to construct silent snares for trapping small animals without alerting others, create tripwire-based alert systems that provide early warning of movement or intrusion, reinforce structural elements in shelters by binding components together with long-lasting strength, or be braided into thicker cables for handling heavier loads, demonstrating how a concealed internal system can be converted into both a survival toolkit and an economic asset through resource awareness and adaptability. The interior structure of a car contains multiple layers of materials such as synthetic felt, foam padding, and rubber insulation, all engineered to regulate temperature, reduce noise, and enhance comfort. But in a survival context, these same materials become critical for thermal protection, especially in cold environments where heat loss is the primary threat to human survival. And by removing components like the headliner from the of the vehicle, an individual gains access to a large, lightweight insulating sheet that can be used as a blanket, a barrier against wind, or a partition to block drafts within a shelter, while rubber floor mats can be placed on the ground to create a waterproof layer that prevents moisture from seeping into sleeping areas, significantly improving warmth and reducing the risk of hypothermia, illustrating how comfort-oriented design elements can be repurposed into essential Zashitny systems when environmental conditions become hostile. When all of these elements are considered together, the strength of seat belts, the utility of steel rods, the versatility of mirrors, the energy stored in batteries, the filtration capacity of air filters, the abundance of copper wiring, and the insulating properties of interior materials. An abandoned vehicle transforms from a discarded object into a comprehensive survival platform, reinforcing the core principle that survival is not determined by the quantity of resources available, but by the ability to recognize and utilize hidden potential within the environment. And once this mindset shift occurs, a person no longer sees waste or limitation, but instead perceives opportunity in every overlooked object, fundamentally increasing their chances of adaptation, resilience, and long-term survival in any crisis scenario.